So I'm here playing with thoughts as I do, looking to find the deeper meaning, and also the application then of that deeper meaning to promote something better. My aim with my videos that I keep doing is to keep offering a little bit of advice, and with that advice they might be able to put a better foot forward for the next step. Reasonable. If that's what people want for each other, then that's great. You're not receiving it because there's a blockage. Seems to be a lot of that going off within this time, within this age, right? I've thought many times about going into the quantum thinking that I touched on in the last video. It's so deep and so complicated that I sometimes wonder how I'll be able to convey that. And in little sort of breadcrumbs and snippets for now, in this way, really. And it is simple, and it's not hard to see these in blockage. But we don't, because things are moving so fast, and words are flying past us so quick, and people are shooting their mouth off so fast that they're not having time to really process, pass by, the senses. What does this mean? So the flow of information is just so fast that there's a real risk you don't take the time or get the time, and depending on your situation, to be able to then reflect on that. You put the walls up, right? And I think a lot of the problems that we've got, and maybe you may feel that I'm sort of generalising this, but unless you just say what you think, how are you ever going to really get your point across? Because you can think, oh, I don't mean it like this way, or I don't mean it like that way, and you can try and not offend as many people as you want before you say what you want, but at some point you've got to say what you've got to say, because otherwise it's just all inside, and it really does eat away at you if you don't say what you got to say. And what I found, let's just take this men and women, because you work off your own experiences. So these are your experiences, but what you've got is this is in your own sphere of experiences. This is yours, right? Now what happens is if somebody else has got one, not if somebody else has got one, other people have got one, but if there's another one, if you keep them separate, fair enough, but then what happens is you overlap, and it's these points of overlapping where either the damage is done or the potential for progress is realised, right, and actioned on. So if you're on your own, and I've spent a lot of time on my own recently, and that's why I think I'm stepping out again, because I'm pretty good at having multiple points of contact within my own self, but that's still within my own self. At some point I'm going to step out into this place again and bring my knowledge, experience, influence and abilities with me, and I'm going to do that with the intention of having a positive effect on you and on the things around me. Let's say it's a man and a woman's interaction. What I've found, and yeah, this might be a generalisation, right? But it's my own experience. My own experience is valid, right? It's valid, and it's as valid as any other piece of information in this place. The real problem comes when people think that their way of looking at it is the only way of looking at it. That's where so many problems that I've seen comes from it. If there's no two-way, and I've been on both sides of that. I can remember instances and examples where I thought I'm absolutely, definitely right, and I'm not budging, and I've not engaged as much as I could at them times to be able to get more information or input out of that situation to then be able to stand a better chance of making it better. I think most men might agree with what I'm saying. Most women would also, especially the ones I spoke to over time where this sort of situations come up. The honest, realistic, aware sort of females, women who are clued up, who know. They're no longer fighting for control. They're just trying to do their best and what's right, and they know what's right. But what I've tend to found in relationships, and I'll give you another one here actually. In fact, I did a video on relationships. Watch that. But I'll just gear this just to sort of spur you on to go and watch that, because it's a relay. It's a back and forth. It's a communication. It's a passing of the current, and this is where branching off into different things. But in my experiences, I found this sort of thing happens a lot, and it's been a cause of a lot of my problems, and I'd like to understand a bit more about it, right? And I think I do understand a bit more about it, but there's more to understand to formulate a better approach. Now in relationships, because the men and women, they bring different things to the table, right? Fair enough. You have to generalise with a population of a world this, or to the numbers that were told of like billions and billions. You have to generalise. There is always somebody who don't fit in somewhere, who could be offended, and they could say, "Oh, I don't like that." So what you're going to do is you have to, and you have to get over your offence on this, to be honest, right? Because it doesn't help anybody, you included. But anyway, there's reasons for it, and there's issues that have not been dealt with, and that's in loads of areas for boys and girls. For men and women, it end up being men and women, because as with issues, because as boys and girls, we weren't supported, or they weren't dealt with in the right way, or the parenting was rubbish, or the traumas that they've had lead to making them seek that out rather than come across it. Girls, at a lot of points through their lives, they like the bad boy. It represents excitement and safety, and security, and having somebody on your side who can do far more than you can, like having a bodyguard sort of thing. what happens is it goes from being a really short-term, appealing couple of characteristics, right? But it's not workable in the sort of long term. But then what happens is, right, instead of taking it for what it is within that experience, the girl then tries to get her claws in, right? Because she wants a man to be a man. The problem is that she wants that man to be a man, but she wants that man to be her type of man. But she's a woman, not a man. So what you're doing is then you go about using emotional either blackmail or emotional strategies, right? And sex, boom. Yeah, that should never be used as a tool of to punish. Lots of different people out there, but you know what I'm saying. It shouldn't be brought into formulating a strategy of control, and it's going to backfire, right? Because the things that they tend to want on a basic level, they're going to do without because they're going to ruin them. And then what happens is you're stuck in this sort of backwards and forwards sort of battle really in a relationship, right? A relay ship, travelling, journey. Watch the relationships video, right? And you're then in this constant state of flux between, right? Somebody trying to change somebody else and this other person, because they don't want to be changed. You're going to get this opposition, and opposition from men is, in some ways, it's not the same as you'll face opposition from women, right? Women tend to be a bit more calmer, on the outside sometimes, a bit more, can you say manipulative? Manipulative sounds like such an aggressive and sneaky word, and it is in some ways, and some do that. The thing is to not join in, and that's hard because you're getting your buttons pushed all over, and like I said, the reaction from men won't be, pushing your buttons and seeing if it can, because men's reactions tend to be bigger, right, more in your face, can be more aggressive, for a reason, because it's the sort of options available to us when we face difficult situations. And then what happens is you've got the man and woman in your relationship, right? And I'm talking man and woman. If it's something else, then fair enough. But I do a video on every variation of standard models, because if you watch my last video, let's say man, let's say woman, right? And then what you've got, this works for just about any topic where you've got two sides. This is total, 100% man. This is 100% woman, or the elements, or the attributes, or the characteristics, or the things that if you said what makes a woman or what makes a man, there'd be the things that you'd list purely male or female, sort of, But yeah, this diamond, this is the middle, and that there is the Goldilocks sort of spot. That's where, so you've got balance. Suppose if these are pages, these are pages, this is a book. Again, it is to right and left side of the brain. That's the same for, for all of that. It's this. Point there, point there. Let's go fly a kite. Do you want a good game or do you want to win? What if I told you that having a good game while winning? That's the win. Having a good game. It totally changes the outlook, the approach then. It totally does. If your emotional sensitivities get a reaction from that, then yeah, you'll take it that way. It's not the way it's meant. But why does that make a difference to people who only see things their own way? Right? We need to get a little bit better within ourselves, recognising something. Right? Well, first you realise there's something happening here. Spider sense is sort of going off and it doesn't quite feel great. So it's important then to just go, whoa. And just stop and just, whether you actually, physically take a step back. Take one step back, because it gives you that little bit of separation. Take a little step back, give yourself a minute and just say, what's going on here? And figure it out, because you can. You've got all the tools that you need to. You've got eyes and you've got ears for them people who both of them are fully functional. And I wonder whether, because in the female sort of pathway and how girls are sort of treated, it's different. They get loads of expectations put on them, but they do get more mental and emotional support within the family structure, within the wider family structure, within education, within all of these different points. The girls tend to get more support in the mental and emotional sides and the future expectations of them. Lads don't seem to get that. And I've worked in education, and I've worked through that, and I've worked in youth services, and I've worked, I'm not saying this because it just popped into my head one day. I'm saying this because this is what we're talking out, to try and get some reasonably honest and truthful answers that are genuine, right? That actually mean something, that actually putting some time into them areas will make a difference. That's why I'm talking about this, not just because it's there. Right? So the lads have built some strong defences, or stronger defences, when they're younger. The girls recognise that. And again, it comes back to this, either I'll learn how to do what you've done, or I'll get you to protect me. I'll put this in a few points here to touch on. I've not even looked at them yet. We've changed over time. You could say we've evolved. It's not finished yet. We're on a journey and it's still going. We're still discovering. Right? A bit of a little wall actually that we're all just going to have to sort of jump over or give somebody a lift over. Right? But we'll get there, and it's a journey. Easy people and the categories and the sort of like masculinity sort of hating. It's weird. Let me just keep chipping in there. Shout for all you awesome women, because it's It's a certain percentage. It's these here. You know, when we're talking about these are the extremes. Yeah, you know, the extreme man and the extreme woman, and this is the middle ground. Right, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't get the evolution of its own. I touched on law very briefly in my last video, but I'm going to give you an example, and this is not uncommon. And the fact that this is not uncommon and not being, well, it has been addressed in part, the law is really not set up these days to be friendly towards men. It's really not. I'll tell you about this case, right? Two people in a relationship, and the man leaves. What happens then is the woman's not happy about that. Because of her own trauma, insecurities, what she's put into this sort of like agreement, a relationship, and she's not got out what she thought she was going to get out, or what she thought she wanted. It happens. Generate a I've not got what I want, and it's payback, it's revenge. It's like you've taken something from me. So because you've left sort of relationship. Now what happened in that situation, right, is that the woman made a plan, went to the police. What I would hope in a situation like that, because again, this applies to loads of stuff, right? You've got two people, and where should the law run? Really, where should the law be positioned? The law should be positioned straight down the middle. Both sides. When this woman, or when a person, anybody really, makes an accusation, then what should happen is there should be a point of contact between the law and both sides. Whatever happens in investigation to this one should happen in investigation to that one, because it needs to be balanced and it needs to be fair, right? In the reality that we've currently got, what happens is the woman walks in and says, this has happened. Then what happens is the woman goes and does her own thing. Oh, he's done this. So then what happens, it's this, the police and the law seems to be this really, a little bit sort of like clueless on meaning and depth, sort of big, sort of, how we're going to say, like big protector. It's not easy. It should be, but it should be balanced. It should be more of a facilitating service. Anyway, the man's then visited, right? No history, no criminal record, no nothing. Then told about these accusations, which, as you can imagine, can be quite upsetting. Just even somebody pointing a finger, you know, somebody to think that somebody else could think these bad things of you. Can be quite devastating sometimes, when you know within yourself that there's no truth within it. So anyway, taken, arrested, taken for questioning, put in the cells, right? Fingerprints taken, gone all through the process, right? Phone taken off, laptop, house search, temporary precautionary suspension from place of employment. Again, all of these you already know, as I'm saying them to you, you already know what impact they're going to have. Community, social, the perception of other people sort of generates something, even if it's missed or just blow away in time. It still generates something that you can feel and you can sense, right? Career impact, kids, you've got then other impact or other services that will be sort of panic and jump in. And it's done because, they say, oh, we have to be careful and you have to be safe and you have to ask the questions. Well, you can ask the questions, but it shouldn't have got there. Because, to be honest, I believe that if they'd have treated the other person the same way, talking process, but at the first fence, there's judgment, and to be honest, it's only in the last sort of couple of years that I've really woken up, and I'm, because I don't understand how somebody could do that, who somebody could say something or do something and put a process in place that they know is going to absolutely happen, and that revenge, right, that I've been hurt for whatever reason, right, emotionally, mentally, I've been disappointed, and this is not an uncommon story. These groups on Facebook, these groups on things, you had, fair enough, you now and again get your person who's clued up in the moment, right, who has all the data that they need to then join in with this system and say, I'm going to blow this out of the water, look at all the evidence I've got. But unless you're extremely or very capable in articulating yourself, and you've got lots of evidence, and you can walk this emotionally crazily destructive path and keep it together, well then it's going to have a crazy bad effect on you. And within that process, if it's all lies, if it's all because okay, this with me, and I'll tell you now that having experienced some traumas and being able to control my own reactions to a point, which is the same for us all, it was only the fact that I honestly believe that it were only the fact that I dealt with it in a calm, reasonable manner, and all of this that got me through that short term, which could then mean that there were further done and further communication to get into the long term then, where all the lies just fall apart. In the short term, liars, cheats, manipulators, and all of that, which men and women, right? Over time, but I don't think men were quite as sneaky. Now the thing is, all the skills and things that you've got, men and women, are awesome, absolutely awesome. They can be brilliant, but you have to decide what you're going to use them for. Either you're going to go for total control, domination, manipulation, or you're going to take a step back. You're going to see where you can support the people and lift them up, share a bit of information, and just hope that it's taken in the right sense. Right? If it's not in that moment, then don't react badly to that. Just move on, because in that moment they may not hear what you've got to say. They may not hear the depth of what you've got to say. But if there's any possibility of them digesting that, process it, and having an impact on their life, you have to leave them, because that seed, and this is what I'm saying, seeds is the information. You've planted that seed, walk away, let it grow. It's either going to take root, right, soon, late, maybe never, for that individual in that circumstance. But maybe the person who was stood behind them who you weren't even speaking to, maybe they hear you and it changes their life. So, although you don't know, you have to carry on as though you will know at some point. You're open to knowing. We all have an influence, large or small, one or more, at some point, right? Surely if you're talking about who's in control, well, you're talking about the biggest thing that you can think of, because this is in that, and that's in that, and that is in that. So how far do you go before you say, they're in control? And that's where you tend to get big, and that's where you tend to go on a sort of God sort of thing. Laws just been used as a big stick. The law is set up in such a way that it can be used as a man-battering tool, and it needs to change, right? And looking back, that should have been addressed many, many, many times. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Heard that a few times off of some videos recently that have been really good at not only sharing the strategies and the ideas around these, but actually somebody who is walking the walk, who is talking the talk, and it's good to see, because people do need that. We might have it within ourselves, but it takes something outside of ourselves to bring it out, right? Again, let's pop back to this little square box here, right? Let's put this as in, that's inside ourselves, and that is outside of ourselves. It's two opposite sides. Just doing this as a thinking exercise to bounce between one and the other, right? Now to bring what's in to out, well, we don't need to bring it totally out, okay? Because where's the Goldilocks spot? Alright, Goldilocks spot is there. So that's where we want it. We want it in the middle, right? But if this is where it is, then the out says, come on. And then we need to recognise when it's in this sort of middle area and give it some fine tuning, because it's a bit like a signal. I'm not going to signals and frequencies and the universe and the construct of it and things like that. But yeah, anyway. So that is where we're at. I think any reasonable person, or any person who's got the, any person who's really interested, right, in finding the Goldilocks spot, I don't think he'll take offence. And if you do take offence to anything I've said in this video, just do yourself a favour and just have 5 minutes, make a cuppa or something, and just sit with a cuppa and a pack of biscuits and just think, why am I taking offence? What is it about it that sort of got me to react a little bit? And then see how you feel about that. Some people don't want to change. Some people know exactly what they're doing because they believe that they're right. And that's a powerful thing. It's and not something that should be taken lightly, which is why we need to step towards these people, right? Not run towards them, right? Not run to either follow or not run to get a reaction. Not running to try and go and scare them. You don't want to scare anybody into reacting badly, right? I'm going to say, why are you offended? Or why do you have the opinion that you do, or the belief that you do? People who won't answer are not interested in finding a middle ground. So I advise you to walk away. Leave them. Give them something to think about. Oh. Okay, so I just had to break at the exit. Just a good friend called me and visit, and it was great. Really great to see him, because we've not seen each other for quite some time, and we have the update, talking things out, and I think his response, as well as a lot of other people's responses, is we've just been talking about education, relationships, the law, world in general, and you have this, and we talk about things, and we sort of, put in the world to rights, right? Well, when you verbalise it and you have that interaction and you're talking between yourselves, it generates that energy that can put the world to rights, to change its direction towards the right direction, because it's pulling too far, would you say, in the wrong direction? Right and left, or right and wrong? Is the answer in the question. So yes, I think there's a real need and hunger and want for this sort of advice, this sort of sharing, so that people can actually see, whoa, yeah, actually I agree with that. Right, okay, somebody else is saying something different. I thought I were on my own. Right, I'm not on my own. And that's maybe at the base of it. Not wanting to feel alone. Now I'm taken to sort of scriptures, and that God made us because He was lonely. He wanted something different from what He knew. Hey, it's my train of thought. To the interchange. Here we go. Train station. Lots and lots and lots of different trains on the turntable. And this is happening all the time, because you've always got many different trains of thought, right? And let them trains get there, because one of them trains, you will be a longer passenger on. All of them, you're a temporary passenger on, because you have to apply yourself. This happens off of each of them 10 possibilities, off of each end of them another 10 possibilities, and it spreads out like that. Now once you've got to that second stage, boom. It's a bit like, right, when you tell a joke and you're laughing to yourself and you think it's really, really funny. So you know that you're funny, but what's happened is somebody said something. It's become your input. In your own mind, you've thought about this, then you've thought about that, then you've thought about something else, and then you've thought about something else that has been really funny in relation to the first thing, and you're sat there laughing to yourself, and you've gone from one thing to the other to the next thing, whereas somebody else either has took one step and then back in there. Maybe they took the same amount of steps as you in their own thought, train of thought. The neurological workings of the brain and the receptors, the input to the output to the input, and there's a little connector. Anyway, train carriages. So maybe they've moved 3 train carriages on, but they've moved in the other direction, or they've got on a different train. There's 2 ways. There's always 2 ways. Again, I'll say, it's a binary system, or at least a binary system. Ongoing journey, far more to share. We all have, without steamrolling each other, without flattening each other, also without allowing ourselves to be flattened. Middle ground. Like I said, remember the box. Remember the box. Goldilocks spot. Choices. You have to allow your own train of thought to play. Examples come fast, sometimes too fast to grab and to share. Sometimes things have gone so fast. Share what you can. Don't stress about the things that you can't share, or that you struggle to share at this time. They come back around, the lessons in this life, until you learn them. So to the positives, we don't always recognise them quite as easily as the challenging negative things, because the experience of them, the volume or the number of times that they happen, we perceive to be less, and it may well be less. Give me some feedback, please. So that's enough of that for now, anyhow. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening.